Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and I've been spending the last week with the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas SE Peak Edition. For those of you who don't know, pretty much every single brand across the market right now needs to make some sort of rugged looking version of their compact and mid-size crossover vehicles. So with things like Ford, you have the Timberlines. Who else do we have? Honda's got the Trail Sports. Toyota, you got either a Woodland if it's a hybrid, or you have the TRD Sport and off-road and different, oh well, and I guess they also have the adventure versions as well. So Toyota's got a few different things going on with those. But Volkswagen now has the Peak Edition. I wouldn't be surprised if we see something like a Tiguan Peak Edition, maybe even a Taos Peak Edition, I don't know. But what it means is that it gets you some styling bits, it gets you some badging, it also gets you some highway all-terrain tires that did decently well in some of our mild off-road testing. It doesn't get you any sort of skid plates or extra suspension changes or ground clearance or anything like you might get on something like a Subaru Wilderness or the Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek. This one's a little bit more just for the appearance play, and admittedly, I'm okay with that. I mean, brands got to decide, do they want to make sacrifices and give us something like that Pathfinder Rock Creek that was much louder and rode worse because of its super aggressive all-terrain tires, or do they just want to give something that kind of looks the part? And I can't really blame Volkswagen for doing it this way, because it does look pretty cool, especially in this avocado green paint color. And you know me, I'm a big fan of the sidewall, so just having 18-inch wheels with big, thick, meaty tires does really help you soak up the bumps. Now that being said, you do give up a few miles per gallon in fuel economy with these tires, but what I would probably do is if I got this Peak Edition, I would run these dry, or rather wear them down, and then I'd put on some more traditional all-season tires, and you'd probably see an extra bump or two in fuel economy. So let's get a little bit to one of the elephants in the room here. Why do I have a motorcycle on the back of this Atlas? Well, one of the cool things about this Atlas is even with its 2-liter turbocharged engine, its 8-speed automatic transmission, you get a 5,000 pound tow rating on here. And why I left this on here is to point out that most people don't purchase an SUV like this necessarily to tow 5,000 pounds, but what the 5,000 pound tow rating gets you is a hitch receiver that's rated at up to 500 pounds. And that means you can get things like this. You can put a little motorcycle in the back. You could get a hitch-mounted carrier in order to put things back there, or maybe use it for electric bicycles or electric mountain bikes that are getting heavier and heavier. And if you get 1, 2, 3 of those maybe on a hitch-mounted carrier like this, you factor in the torque on there, and you're getting quite a lot of weight. And you want to be able to know that your vehicle can handle it from the hitch's perspective and from the braking perspective. So I've actually done about 90 miles of driving going and picking up this Honda Trail 125 here, which if you'd like to see more on that bike, check the link below. I'll be sure to link a review on that. I'm looking forward to riding it around with this cool yellow paint color. I mean, it's a fun little bike. It's going to be cool. But I just wanted to point out that you could do that. I mean, it's super easy to put this on, and the vehicle doesn't even have some sort of tow mode. Now, it's possible if I hooked in some lights, it would go into some sort of towing mode, but it's more so to just be able to put up to 500 pounds of weight on there, and that's something good to know. And it's also going to give us a little bit more of an experience driving around here today of what would it be like to drive the Atlas around with some weight. Now, the one you're looking at here is about $48,000, which is not particularly cheap, but it speaks to the Atlas's advantage, if you will, in that the Atlas gives you a lot of capability for not as much money as a lot of the competition. Now, I'm going to be straight up front here. This is not my favorite vehicle to drive around. I don't love the way that the engine responds. Even with this facelifted model, I still don't like the jumpiness of the throttle tuning with the 2-liter turbo and the transmission. They haven't smoothed it out super well. And there are technology bits that still frustrate me. But I have to admit that the features you get here at this SE model, at this price point, and the capabilities, the size of the vehicle, the towing capacity, everything, it is a compelling argument. The most time that I spend with these Volkswagen vehicles, I think back to the Jetta that we had last year and how inexpensive it was and how well it executed its mission. And I wish Volkswagen would just focus on making good vehicles, because they do know how to build a really good car in the core elements of a vehicle. They know how to build a car that drives well. They know how to build a car that functions well. But then they ruin it with some of these technological bits and these cost-saving measures. And I know they need to cut costs in order to to make a profit and keep the prices down in their cars. But between the ID4 we had last week and this Atlas, the core bits of the vehicle are what work well. It's the technology bits and the kind of flourishes they try to do that fall flat. So let me show you some of the things that Volkswagen does really well. For example, these sunshades, super easy to use, one-handed. You got to think if you're helping out a baby or something like that in the back of the car, you want to be able to easily bring these sunshades up with one hand. It does that well. Not only that, the door opens nice and wide. So if you're putting something like a rear-facing car seat in here into the second row, it's going to be really easy to place in. This second row slides back and forth. So look how far forward you can get if you want a lot of leg room there for the rear seats. Or you can slide this all the way back, then you have a good amount of room for the second row. And to get into the third row, look at how easy that was. I mean, that's one click, and then I'm into the back. And you can see when the third row is folded, it's a particularly flat load surface with storage underneath there and a spare tire. You've got extra bits of side storage right there. You've got some places to put grocery bags, some holders, that's important. And then sitting here, I can bring this seat back. There we go. And as an adult, I can sit back here. I have headroom. It's not as comfortable as something like a full-sized Expedition, but it certainly works, and it's not nearly as tight as some of the competition. Now, I can't, from here, slide the seat all the way back. I guess I could put this one up and sort of see how it would be if that row were all the way back. But even then, I've got some foot room, I've got some knee room. Not terrible back here. And you got a little places for cups, some storage. Do we have USB ports back here there? Well, we got a 12 volt. Do we have USB? It's gonna be a little disappointing. Maybe that's something you get in something like the SEL model, USB ports. Again, super easy to get that forward, free myself, bring it back, and then all the way back there. Sitting in the second row, you can see how much the SE model still gets you from a technology standpoint. I've got rear climate controls back here. I've got 2 USB-C ports and a wall-style 115 volt outlet. Like to see that in there. It looks like it is grounded. Got flip-down armrests with grippy cup holders. We've got a panoramic sunroof. I like to see that, and I like to see that it is coverable. And air vents, obviously air vents being very important. You also see some of the Peak Edition special stitching. It looks kind of cool, this two-tone interior. Nice feeling to the seats. Yeah, a lot of fundamentals done really well. Getting into the front, again, quick side note, feel how nice, I guess you can't feel, but listen to how nice this is. Very solid, and a very solid opening sound as well, and it feels good. Getting on in, start it up. You can see a lot of pink in front of us, or purple, depending on how you define that. And that is because these colors are entirely customizable here under Vehicle, Interior, Ambient Lighting. You can either choose your color of the rainbow, or you can link up the color with the drive mode. So if I switch right now from Comfort into Eco, then it turns blue, Sport is red. What is Custom? Custom is yellow. Okay, Off-road, green, snow, dark blue. Just keep it in Comfort. This gets you the kind of Peak Edition vibe. It matches the stitching. Some Peak Edition badging on the steering wheel up here. I do not think it's a good idea for Volkswagen still to be using piano black plastics, because this is all going to be very scratched up before very long. If you own an Atlas right now, please let me know in the comments, is your piano black scratched? Because I have to imagine it is. But they did a really good job with interior cargo area, because you got to think, vehicle like this, you're going to be taking it on trips, you need to have room for things. So big cup holders, some wireless device charging, and thing storage there. I would like to see a compartment right here somewhere up in the dash, but I understand it's not the safest up there. And then you've got a good sized center console, a little bit there, and down under here you can see I have a hat, so you can do some storage down below. A good amount of door pocket there. They've done a good thing with the thing storage. Now, interestingly, and Volkswagen, I apologize if you're watching, but during my time with the car, the seat control has stopped working. So I can go up and down, I can recline, but I cannot go front and back. Nothing happens when I go front and back. And I've been reviewing cars for about 8 years. I've had thousands and thousands of press vehicles, and never once have I had one where the seat has stopped working. That's disappointing, and I know a lot of times if the manufacturer gets word of that before we put out a review, obviously they're going to want to take the car back. They want to make sure it works properly because they don't want you to recite that sort of thing to viewers. But you all, as people watching, I want you to know that. I want you to know that, oh my gosh, it just started working. And then it stopped. Okay, that is so strange. I haven't had it work all week. And now it stopped. So something is going wrong with the seat motor. I don't know how it worked there for a second and then stopped working. Huh. But either way, I want you all to know when something like that happens because it is an issue. Next, I am not a fan of these haptic touch controls. The volume is done by a touch slider. You can tap it or you can slide, and the climate control is all done within the screen, aside from the temperature is done with these touch controls. And the screen actually responds really quickly, so I don't terribly mind the climate control being within the screen, but I don't like relying on these touch controls to take care of things like the volume and the temperature. It's cost cutting. It's solely that, and I just would like the physical feeling of a knob. However, I much prefer this physically controlled steering wheel as opposed to the haptic control steering wheel that we had in the ID4 last week. This one, steering wheel at least looks nice and has real physical buttons to push on. Now, to the SE's credit, you still get heated and ventilated seats even at this price point. So it's nice to be able to have that, cool yourself off, and I think we probably have a heated steering wheel as well, right? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe that's in a different package. Hey, seat's working. And now it's stopped again. Another thing that stopped working throughout my time with the car is you can change all these different screens here on the digital cockpit screen. And right here, this is sort of the peak edition screen. And it's supposed to show you your elevation above sea level. And it did that for the first few days and then stopped. So apparently the altimeter is down on our Atlas. But, alas, problems aside, let's head out for some driving. I don't really mind running with the 2-liter turbo. So many more cars are switching to 2-liter turbos, and we spent a lot of time with the one in our Ford Maverick, similar to this, 2-liter turbo, 8-speed automatic transmission. It works well. Like I said, I still don't love the way Volkswagen has tuned this to where multiple times I've tried to drive away smoothly, even here in comfort mode, and I've ended up jerking the car and making it an unpleasant experience for my passengers. I don't know what it takes for the Volkswagen to get that better. I mean, there are definitely other brands with 2-liter turbocharged engines that don't drive as jumpy as this Atlas does. That's always been an issue with the Atlas, is its jumpy throttle. But once you are on power, once you get going, it's fairly refined. I haven't minded driving it around aside from that jumpiness. I do actually really like how they've done the digital cockpit. There's so many different information screens you can bring up, and unlike a lot of other brands, Volkswagen doesn't limit you on what information you can put where. If you want to see speed in 3 different spots, like this, again, very easy to change these as well. I can go down and bring up speed. Now I have speed across the DH cluster there. So hey, why not let you customize it? If it's a screen, then don't limit us. I appreciate that Volkswagen does not. I've also been decently impressed with the noise levels inside the cabin here in the Atlas. Even this SE model, I don't believe we have double pane glass. Nope, we do not, but still decently quiet on the highway, all things considered, and I bet you the Alpha trims would be just that much quieter. But pretty impressed with that. What I have not been impressed with in this SE model is the sound system. At least you can pay a little bit more, get the SEL, and get the Harman Kardon that sounds decently better. But this is just a 6-speaker sound system in this car, and it's very limited. You can check out our full review of the sound system below. In fact, we reviewed both this one and the SEL's Harman Kardon. And you try cranking your music up, and it limits the volume right back down. It's some sort of protection or just a weak amplifier or something, but hard to jam out to your favorite tunes here in the Atlas. Another feature that I don't believe we have, I haven't been able to find it, is an auto hold feature. For those of you who don't know, a lot of new cars have an auto hold where you can come to a stop like this and then push your foot hard on the brake if it's enabled, and then the parking brake sets and it holds you at the stoplight so you can take your foot off the brake and just chill out. Once you press the accelerator, it continues. But this car doesn't have that. It's got auto stop start, and that's nice, or not nice, depending on your preferences, but it's easily disableable from the touchscreen. I'm just surprised that we don't have any sort of auto hold. You'd see where the button would go right there. I don't know why we don't have it. Getting up to speed, even with that motorcycle in the back. You can hear even getting up to speed aggressively. I mean, this powertrain doesn't have to work very hard. The power is good. The overall tuning of the transmission is good. You never really feel it shifting. Volkswagen knows how to build a good car. I mean, they've built some of the best cars over the last 20 years. It just gets frustrating to use their new cars. It's like they think they have to do these wild and crazy things and be funky, and it's like, no. Typically, the simpler and cheaper the Volkswagen is, the more I've liked it. Volkswagen could have an Atlas that simply has analog gauges, a basic touchscreen with a volume knob, and a nice, simple, comfortable, straightforward, easy-to-use interior. They could charge $42,000 for it, and it would be a fantastic car. It really would. I will say having a wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is definitely nice, and you can see that the screen is a decent size, and it's not too far away from me as a driver now. Mind you, I can't move backward any further. However, I'm still in a decently comfortable seating position, and I don't have to reach off the back of the seat in order to reach the screen, and it makes it nice to use, and things respond well, and you get home very quick and easy. Refresh is good. Been happy with that operation. Volkswagen has always been good at being a car first. I mean, the name is literally people's car. They've been simple and straightforward, and there's been a purity and an enjoyment to that, and a satisfying simplicity. And every time that Volkswagen moves away from that, and even if it's something really subtle and something you can get used to, something like not having a volume knob, every time it gets away from that core ethos, you lose a bit of a raison d'etre for buying a Volkswagen. You're like, all right, well, why wouldn't I just get any other car? I usually go into that lot, but there are 3 police officers there. I don't quite know why. That is a thing as well. This has had a pretty bad rattle. And what's tough for Volkswagen with the Atlas is the fact that this is such a competitive market segment, and all the manufacturers are throwing such good money toward these mid-size crossover vehicles. So it's kind of like you screw up just a little bit, or you have any sort of reason not to buy your product, and then there's plenty of other options for other people to go to. I mean, you even got brands like Mazda with 2 different competitors in the same segment. So it does make it a little more difficult for me to say, yes, go out and buy the Atlas, as opposed to a Telluride, as opposed to a Palisade, as opposed to a Pilot, as opposed to a Highlander, as opposed to a Grand Highlander, as opposed to a CX-90, as opposed to a CX-9. There's got to be something about the Atlas that stands out to you to justify putting your money down on it as opposed to any of the competition. And I do think that Peak Edition makes a little bit of an argument for that. Okay, I believe we've found a parking lot away from the policeman where we can wrap up this video. Well, before we actually end, we got to put the Atlas Atlas Peak Edition on the Daily Motor leaderboard. Okay, here we are. 2024 Volkswagen Atlas SE Peak Edition. Current leaders on the board are Kia EV9, Hyundai Ioniq 6, Toyota Tacoma. Where are we going with the Atlas? I think we're going right above, right above the Audi S4 and below the Audi S8, breaking up the 2 Audi siblings there. So that would be 14th place so far, and we're just about halfway through 2024. Let's hop out and take one last look. Avocado green, the name of this color. I wonder if you can get this on more than just the Peak Edition, because I think that's pretty cool. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, the Atlas is good for maximizing capability in this class and in this segment. I think it's going to be a fine car to own. It's just, there's a little annoyances and bigger annoyances, like not being able to move my seat, that do take me away from it and towards some of the competition. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.